It's finally happening. We have Crazy Rush in a tournament. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I know not, but I do know that it is, I think, North versus South. I don't actually know that. I'm pretty positive it's North versus South because it would be stupid to do it the other way. What am I thinking? On the North, we've got Mate's Noob, and who is this noob? Going Cybern and UEF respectively, opening with many land factories and power generators, as is the typical thing. And on the South side, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi and Bulldozer Noob. Of course, this is all SNF Clan. Again, we're getting the rematch in the losers bracket because both of these peoples were completed by... Let me try that again. Both of these teams were defeated and dropped from the losers bracket. Holy smokes! But we're just basically going to have to figure out who gets the better build here. And I think it's probably going to be not Bulldozer Noob because he is building a mass extractor before he builds a bunch of power generators. On Crazy Rush, your only limiting asset is power. There's going to be so much T1 spam, I shudder to think at the sim speed that we will achieve with Zlo observing this game. With Crazy Rush, there is a script where every time you build one of these lovely mass extractors, another square of mass extractors pop up around it, or rather crisscross. The ones on the adjacent flat edges come into existence. So that one is finished, this one is built, and then pop, pop, there come the mexes. So you can basically spread out as far as you wish, building as many mass extractors as you desire, and yeah, your only limiting factor is how much power you can possibly spam up. Who is this noob is probably going to be stalling power very shortly. Looking at his build, we've already got an early aggression unit, a Mantis tagged with the scout running around to the back end of the base, probably not far enough around to the back end because Obi-Wan Kenobi is still in range of that, but the hope here, I do believe, is to get a Mantis in and kill the engineers that are carrying out the mass extractor spam. It looks like Mate's Noob is going for 8 power generators and then an additional land factory. This is one of the things that I kind of fail at when I'm playing Crazy Rush in a competitive environment like this, is how soon exactly do I get all of the land factories up? Because it's very tempting to just spam power for all eternity and scale your mass because eco is best, correct? Well, not entirely, because as you can see, if your opponent has 487 land factories spamming units and you only have 3, well, there might be an issue. And you definitely need to scale up appropriately. It does look like power generator spam might be taking place. Nope, not adjacent to the land factories. Yes, adjacent to the land factories. So there that is replaced. And who is this noob is going to try to get a couple of those things built out. Mantis is around the back end, not going to do anything of great significance, I think. Well, no, it might kill an engineer. I thought the engineers had moved out of the way. Kenobi is gonna have to move his ACU up, remarking, really, in the chat? Yeah, you try hard. Well, I mean, it is a tournament, and try-harding is what you do. We've got 2 land factories online for both of the northern players, with the 3rd on the way for Mates, and then number 3 on the way for Obi-Wan Kenobi, as well as Bulldozer Noob, who is actually moving on to his 4th land factory. Essentially what you do is you just build land factories until you mass stall, and then you build mass extractors till you power stall, and then you build power until you build power stall, and then you repeat the entire process all over again until there's as many T1 tanks on the map as your unit cap can handle. Everything is in the same spot, no reclaims, 0 APM required, says somebody in the chat. Yes, I do believe that that is actually the case. Factories in front of your base is a good thing. I like this as opposed to this, because if you have units coming in at the front and you have factories all over the place, that's gonna be 4 freaking thousand HP available to meat shield your units and beat your opponent into submission using the vastly superior health pool of your base. Whereas if you're doing like this, or like this, there is a gaping hole in the front of your base with free access to the power. I think the way Mate's Noob is doing it is probably the best way. Either that or something of this sort, and like you have your ACU over to the edge to guard it. Some such thing. As far as land factory count goes, we've got 5 over here. We've got a 5 over here as well, with 6, 7, and 8 coming online at the same time. We've got a total of 6 with more to come, and 6 with more to come there as well. So just about neck and neck pace in 4 directions. 4 unit production, and the scores do reflect it. This is a 90% balanced game with 4.9, 4.9, 4.6, and 4.6 on the scoreboard. What is this? No air? Noobs, says Yori. I mean, there's an air factory building already, so maybe a little bit fast with that remark, but it is kind of remarkable that no one has gone for an air factory yet. There is another one. I do believe that Zlo is correct. 1 T1 anti-air in the base can defend the whole base. But there is this thing called suicide bombing. And 1 bomb kills 4 engineers, takes out the entire power build. 1 bomb takes out 3 engineers and slows down the production of the land factory. 1 bomb takes out 3 engineers and damages approximately 9 P-gens. It is definitely worth suiciding in a couple of T1 bombers, not to mention the fact that if you build T1 bombers and your opponent doesn't have air, you can just harass their T1 forces into oblivion. So I don't think that that is necessarily a valid point. Also, scouting is a thing, and we do see air scouts now pushing across the map to secure some intel. I do like the radar system on the front. Yes, I do indeed. Unupgraded commander going out to the front for Bully Dozer. Looks like Obi-Wan Kenobi is going to continue his T1 power generator build over there. I think that there is probably going to be a relatively decent stalemate of units in the middle, at least for the time being. Let's take a look-see. 7, 10, 14, 15 land factories. That's going to be 7, 14... 15, 16, 17, 18 factories. And on the south side, we've got a total of 10, 11, and 8, 11, 15, 16. The north side definitely has a few more land factories. Now, whether or not that will make a significant difference immediately is yet to be seen, but over time, that advantage in production is definitely going to lend them the upper hand. I am also kind of laughing internally because the entire point of this tournament was to test the T3 land balance. It would be kind of hilarious if this game, at this scale, was resolved strictly with T1 spam. I'm not saying it will happen, but it would be kind of funny. This might also be the one game in history where mass Titan spam would be a good thing. All of the units are coalescing on the middle of the left side. Looks like all units are being diverted in an attempt to collapse the center, but both ACUs are going to move over to the midpoint. Bully Dozer and Obi-Wan Kenobi killing as many tanks as possible with those ACUs, racking up 12 kills on their commanders respectively. I was about to make a comment about, oh yeah, they're going to leave a massive pile of reclaim in this base, but to be honest, on Crazy Rush, reclaim is more of a nuisance than it is a benefit, because it did bug out, I think, or something, I don't know. When you have an unlimited number of mass extractors to build, you theoretically have an unlimited amount of mass. And so reclaim doesn't make as much of an impact on the game. However, those wrecks do prevent you from building more factories in good time, because you have to take the time to remove the wrecks. So we shall see how this all turns out. Mate's Noob is on the front line with his own commander now, and I think Obi-Wan Kenobi is struggling to maintain against the sheer quantity of T1 units that are crashing down upon his face. Kanubi backing up ever so slightly, having to swing units around to the left to recuperate. And who is this noob? Continuing to scale up production to a maddening degree. Let's actually cue into the players just for a second. Set focus army 0. That is going to be on Mate's noob, who has a whopping 25 land factories. 173 mass income provided by 83 T1 mass extractors. That is ludicrousness incarnate. And I do believe that he is actually okay on power, strictly building T1 power generators, although he does now have a T2 HQ and will be providing himself with T2 power generators in just a memento. If we go to number 1, that is going to be Mate's noob. He is rocking out 15 land factories, not nearly enough to counter his opponent as these T1 units now start to stream into the base, although he is also going up to 169 income. He is not using any of it, hardly. Well, that is an unfair statement, but he's not using all of it, and that's what you need to be worried about as the frontline factories start to go down for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Speaking of which, let's go over to number 2. Nope, that is not speaking of which. That is going to be Who Is This Noob? With a massive 31 factories to his name. It appears that his build queue has finally stopped, but with the advent of Ilshavas, he will start to have to think about his T1 deployments, because those Ilshis will be able to overpower vast quantities of T1 units with ease. Good thing Bully Dozer got that online, because otherwise I think he was doomed. And he is going for mass T2 factory upgrades, so that should work out pretty dang well for him, although I do think that he does need far more build power than he currently has. Let's go take a look at number 3, which should be Obi-Wan Kenobi. His land factory count is up to a whopping 32, rivaling the count of Who Is This Noob, but of course he is still struggling to beat back the forces from Mates because he was never able to recover. However, I think that he's finally hit critical mass. More units coming in from Bully Dozer will assist with the pushback, and that will be good to go. We're also seeing a bit of a radar problem on the right-hand edge. Ilshavas, of course, need to be able to see beyond their vision radius. They do have quite a substantially greater firing range than vision range. So if you don't have radar, they are at a massive disadvantage. Let's queue back up and go to the general point of view. There we go. And that is going to put us back in the Eagle Eye representation. Who Is This Noob is now going to crash down upon Bully Dozer with a frightening amount of T1 tanks. Ilshi's pouring out of the factories to try and remove this threat. Question is, can they get to critical mass before this all breaks down around them? Who Is This Noob does have the gun upgrade. He does have power storage, quite a substantial amount of it, so he'll be able to overcharge his way through those forces with ease, but he is going to take the more conservative approach and back up with the commander, not threatening his ACU with all of that Ilshi danger on the southern side. T2 going down as hard as possible for Bully Dozer on his commander. He's already at 50%, and he does have the gun upgrade. Over on the left, Obi-Wan is unupgraded and reclaiming with the ACU in order to supply his ever-increasing need for mass. We've got a T3 HQ on the way. Hopefully T2 support factories already in upgrade sequence, because otherwise this is going to be a bad freaking time when they do not have the mass T3 scale that they need. Rhino spam is in full effect on the northern edge. Rhinos, of course, very strong T2 units in their own right, although they do get ranged by Ilshavas. They will be able to absolutely own any amount of T1 that comes up against them. Looks like this commander grows ever stronger, still dropping the nano upgrade for a total of 15,000 HP and 80 regen. That is a strong commander indeed, with T2 artillery installations going down on the front line. That is going to be a bit of a nuisance for the forces on this edge, as that T2 already should have the range to reach all the way to this corner and most of the way up here. An excellent, excellent area denial tool. Just a shame that it's a Seraphim Arty that will have the accuracy of, you know what, I don't even know a good comparison is. A hunter in the Arctic with frostbite trying to hit a snow hare at 100 meters, something like that. Mate's Noob slamming down Cerberus turrets already does have a zapper in effect, which is a good thing because I spy with my little eye an attempted TML snipe. We've already got 4. There is a 5th on the way. That might be able to single shot an ACU even under a shield. If this blue commander stays still for even a moment, it is a potential target. Looks like orange is going to be pushing back up through the middle. The ACU is on the front line, trying to rein in this terrifying commander on the front line as point defense get placed around the outer edges. T2 putting down a shield gen and then clink hammers over on the left side of the base. Looks like there's a sufficient number of T1 and pillars to be able to at least stall the onslaught. But who is this noob is going to be in trouble as this game moves forward, because this godlike ACU in the center will continue to vet, now up to 18,000 HP with 92 regen. It gets freaking ridiculous up in here. So that is going to be something to contend with for time to come. The number of T2 units is growing though, and even the Seraphim commander does have its limits, but looking at the overcharges raining down and the Ilshavas backing this ACU, which is still in the green HP, I think it is safe to say that Bully Dozer will come out on top. What I would love to see in a game like this is somebody try to take the nano repair, because the amount of regen this ACU can dish out is quite ludicrous in the extreme. The disadvantage is that you lose the gun upgrade on the ACU. The other thing that might be helpful in this is a hefty dose of secondary gun for the splash damage. Strictly with the number of units on this map, the splash damage would come in handy. Auto overcharge is definitely a thing, a glorious thing at that, considering the amount of T2. Every single overcharge would be a good investment of power. Over on the left-hand side, we do see a T3HQ online with trebuchets coming out to the front edge. We've got bricks up here as well, facing off versus Titans. Titans actually are making it to the field, but a little bit too late, it would seem. The T2s are on point and able to deal with those Titans with the help of some bricks. And that is going to be a hard thing to deny for Obi-Wan Kenobi. The real question here, oh my, there's T3 artillery already in range of the TAC launchers. You forget sometimes how small this map is. The T2 power generator taking hits, that might actually be the focus fire of that Arty. The ASCU also taking a hit. The scatter fire on the trebuchet is strong. Low accuracy, very, very high area of effect with low DPS. So the trebuchet is a perfect tool versus the vast quantity of targets at its disposal. Okay, finally a small lull in the fighting. That is an ACU under upgrade with TAC missiles coming in. Is it gonna be enough? 2 on the shield, 3 on the ACU. No, the TMD was able to reach. ACU took a lot of damage, but not enough for it to go down. ACU was forced out of the upgrade, though will have to retreat. Ravagers will have to wait for another day, leaving another opportunity for Bully Dozer to try and exert some pressure on this outside edge. Of course, if he were able to completely bypass this right side, the point events will be left in the dust. And if you knock down all of this production, you'll be in a much better situation. Percival's online, able now to contend with the bricks to a certain degree. I would actually love to have seen tack snipes on the bricks. Totally still something that could happen. Factory starting to go down around Obi-Wan Kenobi as he has 98% on the T3. He needs to get it finished. Come on, launch your freaking tack missiles at the bricks. They've been stationary on multiple occasions and could have killed them by now. Probably could have damaged all three with the area of effect. ACU finally free to move as Obi-Wan's front line crumbles. T1 bombers are sent to the north side to try and deal a blow to Mates Noob's ACU. What? Why are you going after the commander? You could T1 bomb a strip of mass extractors. You could T1 bomb the T2 power generators. There are so many different things that you could do that would do so much more damage than that. But, oh well, whatever the case may be. Obi-Wan Kenobi not losing his HQ yet, but a good focus fire order from the opposition would do him in. We're finally starting to see Bully Dozer reacting with his own units, trying to come to the rescue. There's the focus fire. HQ is going to go down, removing what little hope Obi-Wan Kenobi had of saving his tech level. However, he has still got a pretty good number of factories. These T3s need to be shifted to T1 production until he can get another HQ online. Kenobi putting down Ravagers in his base to try and deal with the threat of those bricks. And the Trebuchet fire starts hitting the mass extractors. That was a devastating blow, to be sure, as the bricks continue to close in on the heart of this base. I think we're finally starting to see the collapse of the south side. They did so well for so long at denying these forces and teching up. But I think that with the core of this base gone, Obi-Wan Kenobi will be hard-pressed to deal with anything at all, let alone the ever-increasing number of T3 land units from the opposite edge of the map. T3 air on Crazy Rush. Now that is something that I have never seen in anything outside of a Phantom game, and even rarely in Phantom games. Pillars, go, go, go! Shout, who is this noob? I don't know that they'll be successful though. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but ill shall await thee on that front line, and I don't think that that will go particularly well for you. There's a T3 HQ online somewheres right there, and a T3 support. The bad thing about getting the T3 units online is that you have to shut down your T3 production. There goes the ACU, Obi-Wan Kenobi down. His factories will be handed over to his teammate. Hopefully the T1 spam can continue, but it is going to be very difficult indeed to defend against this onslaught. 4 vets on the ACU, over 100 regen on that nanocom as he tries to overcharge his way through the pillars, 5 pillars at a time. But the damage is just too damn high, shredding half of his HP on the initial engagement, now having to fall back and regen for a while. Looks like the trebuchets are slowly eating their way into this base. Really need to redirect those T2 artillery and take out those before they eliminate the mass supply. But here comes the strike, and kaboom! There goes about a third of the mass extractors at Bully Dozer's base. That is a hard hit to take as the beleaguered Bully Dozer slowly but surely takes his damage. Disgusting trebuchets, he shouts out. Yes! That amount of trebuchets is just insane. Look at the T1 artillery spam coming out of the side. Of course, Brick's going to be able to deal with that relatively efficiently, only overkilling by 50% of their damage, overkilling every other shot. But the damage on the Lobos is quite high, so they may be able to deal with some of the threats on this side, or at least stall them to a certain degree. Finally getting the mobile artillery shots in, and there goes the trebuchets, firing 2 more final shells in. The shield is collapsed, the power generators going down, and the trebuchet shells impacting for a death blow to the economy of Bully Dozer. His base may survive. He may actually be alive, but that is not to say anything of his future health, because the full T3 production is now online on the north side. We've got T3 Air up and away, and we've got a Fat Boy under production for Who Is This Noob? A ludicrous, ludicrous game. Holy hell. Not to say it isn't exciting. I think that might have been the most tense game of this entire tournament, though it be on Crazy Rush. But good lord, the amount of spam. Whew. Alright, now we can just watch as Bully Dozer declares the GG well played and meets his end with pride, taking the Control K right that away. And Dora with 500 bits on the Duke. Thank you very much, man. And thank you to all 4 of these players for a phenomenal game. That is going to be a win for Mates Noob and Who Is This Noob? Well played indeed, with Bully Dozer and Obi-Wan struck from the tourney in the losers bracket. That is going to wrap everything up for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, feel free to drop a like and share it with someone. If you want to support the channel, catch the streams, or join the Discord, check out the links in the description. Thank you all for being at least partially insane, and I will see you in the next one.